In this video, we are going to introduce health, disability, and long-term care insurance. So we will try to define health insurance and disability income insurance and explain their importance in financial planning. We can say it as health insurance reduces the financial burdens people suffer due to illness or injury. Just what it sounds like. If you come across illness or injury, then it should help you cover the costs of these unforeseen and regretful events. Of course, the way this is done is by you paying some premiums up front. It's part of your overall insurance program to safeguard your family's economic security. It includes both medical expenses insurance and disability income insurance. So forms or types of health insurance, you have group health insurance. Group plans comprise about 90% of all health insurance. So that's the most popular one out there. Most group plans are employer sponsored. As you know, you get your health insurance through your employer. At least most people do it that way. That's the common practice in the United States. We do have some changes that have been going on for the last, more than a decade now. And I'll take this moment to say that today, this is the way things are. And things are evolving and changing a lot in the healthcare industry within the United States. And it has been an ongoing process for decades now. So currently we can say things like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 requires large employers, that's more than 50 employees, to provide health insurance coverage to all employees, or at least have that benefit present that the employees can use their part of their benefits that way. In June 2018, the U.S. Department of Labor expanded access to affordable healthcare coverage options for small businesses and their employees through association health plans. So little by little, they're just trying to ease the burden on the business and make it easier for people to get good health insurance coverage. Individual health insurance and supplementing your group insurance. Okay, so keyword supplementing, individual health insurance, a policy tailored to your particular needs from the company of your choice. So you can either go all by yourself on the health insurance plan, or you can add to your group insurance in order to, with individual, more detailed to your specific needs. Supplementing your group insurance, the coordination of benefits provision in a policy says that benefits received from all sources are limited to 100% of allowable medical expenses. In other words, not above 100% of allowable medical expenses. And this is where it gets, you hear all of these stories about what was covered, what was not, and what was allowed. So now we have types of health insurance coverage. A good health insurance plan should offer basic coverage for hospital and doctor bills, provide at least 120 days hospital room and board. Again, these numbers vary per individual need, and different plans may offer different things. But this is what you want to look for. It's like a baseline, something to guide yourself with. Provide at least $1 million lifetime maximum for each family member. It says they're at least. Pay at least 80% out of hospital expenses after annual deductible of $1,000 per person or $2,000 per family. Of course, this $1,000 and $2,000, 80%. Again, that's today. These numbers may be adapted and adjusted as time goes by to better represent the needs. And if you have specific needs with different changes, you may change those numbers to something that's better for you. Impose no unreasonable exclusions. Limit out-of-pocket expenses to between $4,000 and $6,000. Again, these are just guidelines that work under our current circumstances. Types of medical coverage. Hospital expense insurance, hospital room, board, and other charges. Those can get very, very expensive. Surgical expense insurance, surgeon's fees for an operation, for example. Physician expense insurance pays for physician's care, such as office visits, lab tests, and x-rays. It does not include surgery. There are different levels and tiers about the type of service: preventive, ongoing treatment, surgery, all these room boards. It gets very specific of what covers what. And you want to be familiar of those details, about those details. And here's some more. Major medical expense insurance covers expenses for serious injury or long-term illness, adds to basic plan, has a deductible, co-insurance, and a stop-loss provision. A major medical expense is not necessarily, if it's a large amount of money, it's considered a major medical expense. It also has to depend on how you came across the need of that expense. Comprehensive major medical insurance, low deductible offered without a separate basic plan, covers hospital, surgical, medical, and other bills. Now, the word comprehensive is a key word here. Yes, you will be covered for a lot more things without having to have all these detailed separate pieces here and there. However, it will be reflected on your premium. Hospital indemnity policies pays cash benefit when hospitalized, as in opposed to reimbursement, for example. Dental expense insurance, pretty much what it sounds like dental. Your dental plan will be different from your overall general health plan, even though it's part of your health, they're just separate. Same with vision. Anything with your eyes are treated separately. Other insurance policies, dread disease, trip accident, cancer policies, focus on unrealistic fears, poor value. What they mean here by focus on unrealistic fears, some of these dread disease, trip accidents, even cancer, the probability, it has to do with the probability of you having one of these needs, one of these things happening to you. So generally speaking, we're not saying it's always a bad idea, but be very careful of the add-ons that they put on your insurance policy for things that have a low probability, because they charge quite a bit and they're just, they're doing it by fear. Now, but it's different for everybody. If you have a history of certain types of cancer in your family, then you might be at a higher risk. You might want to consider that. So we're not saying avoid these additional ones, just really understand the risk versus reward on this. Major provisions in a health insurance policy: eligibility varies with age, marital status, and dependency. Assigned benefits: insurance pays your doctor or hospital directly. Internal limits: fixed amount paid per day for hospital room. That is not the only thing that may have internal limits. That's just an example. There may be a lot of things that have some limits. Major provisions in a healthcare insurance policy: co-payment. You probably hear that all the time. Co-pay, cost sharing in the form of a flat dollar amount you pay, such as $20 to $30 per doctor visit. That's just an example. The number may vary, and the doctor visits are not the only item that may have co-payments. Service benefits, entitlement to specific care rather than a fixed dollar amount per procedure. So we spoke before that there were some limits on some things. For other items like service benefits, it's not about how much it costs, but the actual specific care that you need, and that can vary. Benefit limits: maximum dollar amount or maximum number of days in a hospital. Similar to the internal limit that we spoke about before. Now, the maximum number of days in the hospital could vary depending on the reason you're there. Other major provisions in a healthcare insurance policy: exclusions and limitations. That's just a blanket statement now, things that it won't cover, or limits on other items. Coordination of benefits as coverage under more than one policy. We spoke about when you get a group and an individual, for example. There's a lot of different ways to combine. Guaranteed renewable. This only really becomes an issue as you age, or if all of a sudden you have I don't want to say a new illness, a change in your health situation, that they should be able to continue renewing your policy just under the new circumstances. Cancellation termination explains the circumstances, but as always, there's always grounds for cancellation and termination. It would be explained to you and it should be upfront. Health insurance trade-offs: reimburses versus indemnity is whether you have to put the cash up front and they pay you later, or do they pay directly as you go through the expenses. Internal limits versus aggregate limits. So internal limits, think of it as a limit per item or procedure, but then another aggregate limit is like a total as a whole. Earlier we mentioned something like at $1 million lifetime, that'll be like an aggregate limit, for example. But there's different ways to see that aggregate limit. Deductibles and coinsurance, that's money you have to pay. Out-of-pocket limit. Benefits based, it just like sounds like money that comes out of your pocket. Benefits based on reasonable and customary charges. Which coverage should you choose? You have choices. Basic and major medical, we covered it for the things. You get a combination of both. To be honest, that is an oversimplified way to see it, but they're all going to fall under those two categories. Is this a basic coverage, or is this a major medical coverage? And then it's up to you to decide which direction you want to go. Each situation may be unique. This will be considered part 1 of this lecture. We will continue a part 2 on a separate video.